Hey, welcome back. I hope you're all well. Today on my bench I have a Pioneer SX-636. This was just dropped off by a gent, local gent. He's having problems with it making some kind of a hum noise or something, so I'm not quite sure what's going on with it, so we're going to test it out here. Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. So let's see if we have any DC on the speakers, because this could be a power output thing, and that would be major repair if it was. So let's test the, turn the speakers off. Let's turn this back on again. And let's see, I got the speakers 2 kind of turned on. Let's try out speaker 2. I got 8 volts on one channel and 11, yeah, it's got a major biasing problem. So let's shut this off before we do any more damage, and let's pull the top off and have a good look inside. So I got the lid off. Everything looks absolutely normal. It doesn't look like anything's been touched. First thing I did is I yanked all the fuses and checked the right values. They're all correct, and I checked these 4 main rectifier diodes, make sure none of them are shorted. They were good, and I checked a few other the rectifier diodes here. They're all good. So I just want to make sure that I don't have any shorts in the power supply, and I'm going to work on checking this power amplifier. I just got my diode checker here. We're going to check for shorts on any of these output transistors. If I can figure out which one is the base, I think. Let's see here. Turn off the speakers. How come we're getting a... I'm pretty sure I'm picking up the filter caps here. Let's pull the bottom off. It's going to need to come off anyway, so... Okay, so I'm just poking around here at the power supply. I lifted it off the standoffs, and I'm just checking some of the caps with an ESR meter. And for the most part, they're looking pretty good, except for these 3 caps are suspect. These 3 Hitachi caps. They're 50 volt at 220 microfarad, and they check open circuit on my cap checker, or my ESR meter. I can't get any reading out of these 3 caps, so I think these 3 caps here, I should pull up the schematic, but I'm pretty sure these 3 caps would provide voltages for like the tone board and maybe the tuner and some of the other stuff around here. There's a 50 volt 470, which checks out okay. This is a Nippon Chemcon, but these 3 Hitachi capacitors are... I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you right now. So let's pull these 3 out, and I wish this board had better access, because you can barely get at the bottom of it. I might have to disconnect some wires here, but I'm going to pull these 3 caps and test them out of circuit, and I think I got the problem licked here. So I'm pulling off the first one, and look what I found already. The one wire is completely corroded away, and it wasn't even making contact to the board, so this cap wasn't even in circuit. So let's try the other 2. Second cap, exact same failure. Let's go on to the third. 3 for 3. So we got 3 leaking caps, and all 3 of them, one of the legs corroded off and disconnected, and yeah, these are shot. So I'll put 3 new ones in. That puts to question all the rest of the caps in this unit. Like, there's a lot of Elnas, there's Nippon Chemcons, these ones here, these might be Rubicons here, these blue ones, but these Hitachis for sure are garbage. I'll go through the rest of the machine with, or rest of the receiver with a ESR meter, and we'll check all the rest of these, but that's our culprit right there. Dirty power because there's no filtration. Alright, so we're looking at a schematic for the Pioneer 636, the SX-636, and we've got a number of windings, 3 windings to be exact. This main winding here supplies power for the power amplifier, and this winding supplies a positive and negative voltage rails for other for all the other accessories in the amplifier receiver. The 3 failed caps were C8 and C7. C8 is here, C7 is here. These are both 220 at 50 volts electrolytic caps. It comes off this leg of the transformer through this fuse, through this diode, and this produces a negative 41 volt supply, which is filtered one time and then goes through the resistor and filtered a second time. And both these capacitors were open, so it was getting raw on half-wave rectified DC through there with no filtration. So if these 2 caps were gone, this supply was getting full half-wave unfiltered rectified DC, and that line, let's see where it goes, let's see what it supplies. That line comes in here, and this is the B-2 line, I guess, and it provides the early stages of the power amplifier with a negative voltage. And it's no wonder it was making an awful noise when we turned it on, because we were getting pretty much pumping AC into this amplifier. The other capacitor was C14, and C14 is right here, and this comes off the positive supply through 150 ohm resistor, and then it's filtered by C14, which is open circuit as well. So we were getting full half-wave rectification DC on that unfiltered DC on that transistor. Now I found another bad capacitor in here. It was a Hitachi brand, and it was 100 microfarad. I can't remember if it was C11 or C9. C11 or C9. It was 100 mic. Let's see here. I think it was this one. It was open circuit as well. It had one leg corroded away, and that's a filter to ground for this here. It's unusual that they have such a low capacitance for filtering these power supplies. I think they would have a higher. But anyways, that's where the problem laid, and we got it fixed now. Alright, so I replaced those 3 capacitors, and I'm going to power it up, and I want to check this DC offset again, because that was concerning. I don't know if that was part of the problem or not. Can we see that? No. How's that? Alright, so let's turn this on. And what do we got here? Got 0. And floating around between 30 millivolts and 0. So it's good. So let's try hooking up speakers again. Try hooking up speakers, and we'll see how this thing works, and if we got any other problems to solve. I checked the ESR on these other caps, and they were all good, so I'm going to leave them alone. Usually I like to change them all out, because you know this thing is how old now, and it probably needs it, but I think this gentleman's on a budget, so we're gonna just do what's necessary and get this thing sounding good. Okay, we got it hooked up. How come I'm not using my turntable? Okay, we are on AM.
Today on the show, are you
Joyce. Farm shows are an important part of our culture here at Dutch Agriculture. We built our reputation on the innovation that comes from talking. And we miss you. So we're happy to come to you.
Hey, everything's good so far. Let's try FM. Got no FM at all. I've got there's a muting button. There we go. Let's try an antenna.
Join Canada's Lifeline, and we rely on each and every
Lights are out on the meters.
life-saving.
.ca.
COVID-19.
Copperhead Road. Okay. Seems like it's working good on FM. It's a little weak picking up stations, but
Share it and have the best choice of the year.
a little hard time picking up stereo signal. Tuner's working good. Okay, phono stage. Got a lot of hum. That's because we have the covers off. Let's deal with these two lights that are out, and let's check, do a power test on it and make sure everything's good and distortion free. This capacitor here is a Sanyo, and it's a 0.33 microfarad, and it's right at the input of the power amplifier. So it measures good capacitance wise, but these Sanyo capacitors are notorious for being garbage, especially when they're 40 plus years old. So I take them out, measure them, and it's got an ESR of about 250 ohms. In contrast, here's a 0.33 film capacitor, same value capacitance, but it's got an ESR of 5 ohms. So that's what I'm going to be changing these two input capacitors on the front end of the power amp. Alright, so we're all wired in to do a power test here just to make sure everything's good with this power amplifier and we don't have any weird distortions or anything. So I got it hooked up to a 1000 hertz tone and 8 ohm dummy load, running through the auxiliary inputs. And start turning it up here, and looks like the right channel is a little bit quieter than the left. I wonder if the balance is working. Treble and the bass, everything's working with no drama. So let's turn this up to clipping. Getting clipping on the left channel before the right, which is a little off balance. Okay, so right there is clipping point, and we got 15.93 volts RMS. Just going to let this go for a while. And it doesn't seem like that's much heat. My load resistors are starting to warm up. So we'll let this go for a while and we'll see how it does. Seems to be okay. I think this amplifier is a little overbuilt for its power rating because it's got these big, huge TO3 transistors. And what are we at here for wattages? Let me calculate this out. So we're pushing 31 watts. I think the spec on this is 25 or 27 watts per channel, and we're peaking out at 31. One thing I noticed is there's a little bit of flutter in the power supply. I bet you we could have got little better results if we replaced those two filter caps. These two filter caps, by the way, they are 6,800 microfarads, and on my tester they came back at about 4,200 microfarads, 4,000 microfarads. So they're weak. They're definitely weak. I'm not changing them though because this owner wanted this repaired on a budget. So that's what we're doing. We're going to get the thing working good and get it back to him, and the minimum amount of cost here. So let this go for a while. Alright, so this has been cooking for 10 minutes more at full power, and the heatsink is just starting to get a little bit warm, a little bit hot, which is no surprise. This heatsink is quite a bit beefier than it needs to be for a 30 watt per channel amplifier, but it's holding up really well. Like I said, no drama, everything works good. So this one's buttoned up. It's going to get back to its owner, and hopefully they'll be happy to see it back in working condition from that horrid noise that we started with in the beginning, that 60 cycle hum. So the culprit was 3 dead Hitachi capacitors. Let me show you these. I don't know if I showed you close up, but these capacitors are all Hitachis, and every single one of them has one of the leads corroded away because they all leaked. And yeah, it's unfortunate that I don't know why they decided to swap brands, but it's not very good. And aside from that, there was 4, let's see here, aside from that there was 4 lamps I replaced, and then I also replaced 4 of these Sanyo electrolytics. These are 0.33 microfarads, and they test really high ESR. And then the only other one I replaced was a 16 volt 220, and that was, where was that again? No, well, that was in the tuner. I replaced this out of the tuner. This capacitor is dried up, and it's gone way up in value, or way down in value, sorry. So yeah, a few caps, and we're back in business. So thanks again for watching. I hope everything's going well for you, and looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care.